All right, hello and welcome everyone. I am Tech Chariot, and I am pleased to bring you an 8th episode of Script Chat. It is the 6th of November 2022, and it is 1 p.m. my time, but because of time zone differences and daylight savings time, it is actually 18 GMT, global time. So we had a little bit of a delay. There's some confusion over the time zones. So we've got some good stuff for script chat today. Looks like we've got BP Dredge, who's going to show off one of his maps, maybe ask some questions, and then we're going to do a very simple example about seasons, because this was a question that I got prior to the episode today. So that's kind of what's on the docket. We're going to talk to BP first. He's going to have a map that he's going to show off, and he might have a couple of questions. And then we'll look at how to do seasons very simply in RMS. I will show you guys how to do that, and it may answer some questions that you have, and it may actually simplify some things for you too. It might help you understand why is there all of this stuff in my script that I don't know what it does. So I can tell you it probably has a lot to do with seasons. So BP is in the assembly hall now. So we'll drag him in and we'll chat and we'll see what he's got to show today. BP. Hello, BP. Can you hear me? You are now on Script Chat.
Yes, sir.
Hey, welcome, BP. Thanks for joining us. We're looking forward to taking a look at your work.
Absolutely. I'm getting the game loaded up right now.
All right,
Should be
great.
able to pull it up.
Great. So you want to show Comet today, and then you might have some other things to show too. I don't know though. It's up to you. We can show whatever. Doesn't really matter. Suffice to say, for the folks in chat that are wondering, BP is working on some space theme maps, and I have been helping him, although I haven't done much with Jupiter in a while. So we're gonna look at Comet, and are we gonna any questions or anything else you want to do, BP?
Um, Not not that I can think of. I know, yeah, we have several maps in the works. Jupiter, you had started. Nebula, I made, and then we had, after a game or two, got some feedback, and then we want to kind of fundamentally change it. So we've got several in the works, but we've kind of put it on the back burner for now.
I've been working on a new Landscriber that will really help with a lot of this stuff. For those that don't really know what my Landscriber does, basically it takes some functional input inside of GNU Octave, like let's say y equals x squared, and it can use that to paint lands. And that may not sound very useful, but considering that you can pretty much represent any shape with a function, you can overlay a lot of these functions on top of each other of different elevations and terrain types, and you can make some pretty complex things. The disadvantage is that it's static and that the lands are very small, which means that it uses essentially the maximum amount of data that's required to generate a certain shape. So this new version of the Landscriber that I'm working on will have maybe the ability to paint similar images with a smaller quantity of lands, that are larger, that are not the minimum size, and sort of let them grow organically. So it's almost like a hybrid method between how maps are traditionally made and how I've been making maps. So it should give us some good flexibility and some good options to make some of these challenging space maps.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, I got it pulled up now. Do you want me to share my screen?
Sure, you could share your screen and we'll take a look at it.
All right.
I was explaining to chat that the time zones had changed, and now 17 GMT is actually 12 p.m. our time.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
All right. Let's see what you've got. I like what I see already.
Oh yeah. So this is Comet is I got it pretty much based off the concept drawing we have on Google Docs, but I thought of adding these little pieces coming off of it, and I've only messed with the land so far, nothing particular about the forests or player spawns or anything, but I have 50% chance for him to spawn going one direction or the other, and it should work with all map sizes. Progressively gets bigger, and this little space out here starts to get smaller. You can see compared to the
Mm-hmm.
deep water. Deep water starts expanding. So there's two ways that this could be done, and I haven't gotten it into the script in several weeks. I think I made this about a month ago and haven't been able to really touch scripting in a while. But the way I did this was I have the base deep water, and then I think I made arcs of shallow or amphibious, buildable amphibious, and then I just had it fill in here dirt, and then I have elevation for dirt 1, and that way land can be a little safer from water units.
Mm-hmm.
But that's debatable if we want to do that or not. But the other way would be to just make the dirt the same way with Madlands like I've been using, and then make amphibious, and then make deep water, just stay a certain distance away. There's two ways to go about it. I don't know if one's the right answer over the other for what we want, but for the way I did it, just making the amphibious and then filling in the middle of it dirt seems to have worked well. I think this accomplishes what I want to see for the land. The one concern I could see, especially for larger team games, is lack of land space. Even though you can build on this and it expands out to here, it's not that big of a deal. But I could see players already complaining about having to expand into amphibious terrain instead of staying on dry land.
That's true. They love to complain. Ja00 is in the chat. Welcome, Ja. BP is showing off Comet. This actually looks really intriguing. I've got to say, I'm impressed. I had no idea that this was even possible with the Madlands utility. It looks like there's a lot of good stuff here. If I might ask you, how did you make that trail? Is that a second land in and of itself? You said the base terrain was the deep water.
Yes, so I made 2 arcs because Madlands can't do like an oval. I did a very specific oval shape. Just I kept trial and error until I got the shape I wanted. But it's an arc here and an arc here that combines, makes an oval of amphibious. Filled it in with dirt. Then I did a line and a line from that arc to the edge, that arc to the edge, and then I just filled it in with amphibious. You can see when you get to smaller sizes, it starts cutting into the comet here, especially at tiny, because of the base size and the land I was trying to work with. But I think I like the way that looks. It actually looks like it's coming apart slightly, but that is because one of the single tiles with a larger base of amphibious of that line that goes along here is cutting into the land right there.
Okay.
So it is two lines that become the trail.
So you make the arc, and the arc is basically there to block the land that you're putting in the center of that arc, which you tell to try to expand to take up the whole map, but of course it can't because the other lands are in the way.
Correct.
That's a good idea. That is what I would have recommended as well. It's neat that Madlands allows you to make an arc. I did not believe that that was possible, although I'm not familiar with the tool at all. All right. What about that space where the chunks are? So if you go to the right, how did you fill that in with the buildable mangrove shallow terrain?
So that because of those lines for the trail, I just have a tile somewhere in here that said fill in 10,000 tiles of mangrove shallow.
Okay.
Same way that I did with the dirt. Fill in
Okay.
10,000 whatever tiles of dirt. I did the same thing here.
So it's just another land then.
Yeah, let me see. I don't have the script
Okay.
up, but yeah, I could actually manipulate it just to show you. But yeah, it was a interesting little challenge. I was glad I was able to get it to what it looks like right now.
Okay. Now these islands that are in the back, those little patches, those I'm assuming those are generated using terrains, which is why they are not elevated as well.
Right. Yeah, that's just terrain.
Okay.
hmm
Um, and I see you got relics down. Any thoughts or considerations about the relics?
Well, one thing is they can. I have for 8 player size map, 3 will always spawn in the dirt, and then was it 1, 2, 3, 5 will be out in the mangrove shallow. But you can see that causes them to kind of spawn on the evaporating part of the trail that I have.
Hmm.
That could be a little annoying to try and get. This was just the initial idea, was that players would know there's 3 on land, but there's 5 that I have to expand out for, do a little exploration for, and then that's a progressively smaller amount for smaller map sizes.
Okay. Um, what is your plan for the player start on this map? That's something that you mentioned before the show. What are you planning on doing for the player start? If you can refresh my memory or at least let the audience know what the plan
Yeah,
for it is.
so that's something I'm going to need your help with. I want to get the players to start on the comment, and for a 1v1, that'll be perfectly fine. One player will start up here, one player will start down here. Maybe it could be a little randomized to side. But they have plenty of land to move around and work with. As it gets to bigger maps, yes, it's bigger, but there'll be fewer spots for people to be in. So like 2v2, same thing. It'll be one curve versus the other for team games. Basically, free for all would be a little questionable. I mean, you know where everybody's going to be. 4v4 would be like top versus bottom. That's the main idea. That way you can have the most expanse possible on the comment. But then I already foresee the issue of player lands interfering with the elevation here, just with the land around here. So I'm thinking this may have to become player land, just all the dirt here, but I don't know. Maybe you have a better idea of how to set that up.
Well, as you mentioned, player elevation does not generate around player lands. Player lands can be placed at an elevation, but you cannot elevate an area immediately around player lands. I'm assuming that you don't have any elevation generation at all in your lands. Is that correct? All of your lands are placed at elevation 0, and then you elevate them in the next step.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it now. Actually have icy shore everywhere, and then I have replaced icy shore with dirt 1 tile in. So I have icy shore elevated to 1, and that gave the nice effect of the ice around the edge of it. But yes, I just have that elevated to 1. Nothing else is elevated on the map.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of what I have available now in terms of scripting tools is we could manually place the player lands in an elliptical shape centered around that strange center of that comet, if you will. My create player
Mm.
lands command doesn't have the ability to make that random, but I don't know exactly how important that is given the small size of the map. Like, if you made it random, if you made it plus or minus 1%, that's like 2 tiles here. Um,
Yeah.
so it's not that, I don't think it's
It's
that big
it's
of a
probably
deal.
not worth making a heavier file size script just to get their TC here versus right here. And after seeing the bowl on RBW5 or whatever it was, Legacy,
Hmm.
it looks like players are more accepting of an interestingly close map like this, as long as it's not excessive in the tournament. So I think just having them here, like vertically aligned, one curve versus the other, and fairly close together would work fine.
Ideally, we would adapt the player generation script to be able to center the players wherever, but right now, and you know the player land generation script that I speak of, it was used for the player lands on Beaver Dam to make sure that they were always clocked so that you didn't have somebody start off in the lake or something.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it is not capable of having a center anywhere other than the origin. Maybe it should be. I don't know how. Seems like that wouldn't be that hard to program in. Biggest thing would just be going in and reviewing and remembering how I set it up so that I could fix it. But it's something that we can look at. We can definitely. So what I'm hearing here is that it's a standard start. It is not a Nomad starting map.
Correct. It'll be a standard start, and like I keep saying, the players would be vertically aligned. That's just because if one is right here versus the other right here, that's an obvious disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
This guy already controls the entire other side of the map, and this guy has barely anything in comparison. Because it is not a center aligned circle, like you said, it's off to one side.
Yep, that would be one weird comet. That would be a comet that was spinning or something instead of sailing along through space. How did you get the edge to look so choppy there? Is that a high border fuzziness situation on the mini
Yeah, I
map
think I did.
or low border fuzziness?
Clumping factor, let's see, yeah, -10, and that causes it to kind of snake around in this way. I've used that on another map before just to add a little flavor to it. Actually, I think I did it on Nebula just for aesthetics. Yeah. So clumping factor -10 does these weird snaking clouds of terrain, which I kind of like.
Yeah, that does look really cool.
So I just did that for the mangrove shallow here on the DLC Water 5, and then it goes out to deep water from there.
So is the deep water going to have any fish in it? I mean, why go over there? What's the attraction of the deep water?
Yeah, I think for most of these space maps, we're gonna have or it's gonna be hybrid maps for the most part, and in the deep water there will be deep fish. I think we might be doing dolphins for all of them just for fun.
Space fish.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
So there'll be reasons to go out there. For tiny, it looks like you may not want to have to explore all the way out there, and that's just the map. Some people may not feel it's worth it, but when you get to larger ones, there's going to be a ton, obviously, and we'll have shore fish in the mangrove shallow as well.
Now you can't dock the transition point between the mangrove shallow and the deep water, can you?
Correct. You cannot
So that's
do
going to
that unless
be
we added some little dots of land here and there.
some little beach. That could be sort of annoying to players that want to fish and they have to sail, 6 years to get to the fish. That's
Correct.
something that players could complain about.
Yeah, so that's something we worked on with Nebula.
Is this based on any real life comet specifically? Why did you choose the dirt aesthetic when you could have chosen snow and rocky snow sort of
This
look?
was just to get it started and get it filled in. I put the snow and ice there for a little more realistic purpose. Same thing with Icy Shore.
Hmm.
I didn't really think much about the dirt, except every time I think about Comet and what I've read or seen, it's like dust and ice, basically. So I was thinking dust and dirt, but obviously rock would work well too.
Yep, rock, gravel. There's all kinds of nice terrains out there. Also, comets don't have trees on them. I'm just kidding about
That
that
is
one.
true, yeah.
You got to have trees, right? Otherwise, there will be a rebellion.
Hmm.
Um, Let me ask you another thing. If you um, do you want the islands to be at elevation 0 or at elevation 1?
That I'm not sure of. I think I was messing with it and I couldn't get them elevated in the short amount of time I was working on it, so I just stopped trying. But I think it would be fine for them to be elevated. I just don't know, like on Tiny Map, because I have it scaling to map size. Um, it'd be like these 10 tiles right here elevated. I don't even know if these would elevate at all. So it wouldn't be that much of a difference. And in fact, maybe trying to build on there would become that much harder because you have a few less tiles to work with for some buildings.
Well,
But
what's the plan for those little islands?
to possibly have a few resources here and there, but it's also like a break point for any land units. Main idea is aesthetic purposes, pieces of the comet breaking off, but also if players start to build out here for certain things, there's going to be resources out here, gold, stone, maybe like dots of trees just like falling off the comet. So this would be a break point for land units to not get hit by demo ships potentially, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And elevating them would give land units bonus damage against ships and would reduce the damage that ships did to land units. So it'd be
Right.
similar to the Nebula situation we were talking about. Make Nebula have as little water as you can, but still have the same feel of the map, right? Give land units a place to go, where somebody gets a big snowball of galleys, because a big snowball of galleys is very hard to stop.
Yeah, and that's how I'd imagine it go on this map too. If it went long enough for the people to expand out here for more resources, that's why I want this elevated. Mainly, that only applies to like towers and crossbows, but um, if you can get any land unit on some elevation versus a ship, it'll take less damage, so that's helpful for it. But yeah, like you were saying, it would probably be good to elevate these. That's something we can figure out. I just didn't really mess with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there will be resources out here, um, along the trail that would be worth expanding for if you run out at your home base.
Definitely. Now, the reason that you can't elevate those islands right now is because they are created using terrain generation. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so those islands would have to be created using lands in order
So I'm
to be able to
looking.
elevate them.
Let's see. Trying to find where I have them at. But I think I just didn't add the I didn't add an elevation option to these ones specifically. Can't see. I'd have to go back through. I haven't looked at this script in about a month.
Ah,
But
it's
yeah.
fine.
So yeah, but that's something we can definitely elevate, and that'll help out against ships as well.
Well, perhaps. If you add them as lands, lands try to avoid the corners of the map when you generate them. You could specify their position directly, but then it would not be random. And folks prefer the positioning of the comets to be, or the features to be random if possible. So it's actually probably going to be a little bit trickier than you think. But the good news is that the new and improved version of the Landscribe that I'm working on should have the ability to um, specify the position of these comets closely enough, but also allow it to be sort of random. I was thinking what could look really good for this map is if the chunks were larger as they were closer to the comet, and then
Mhm.
they broke up into smaller pieces the further away you got. I thought that could be pretty neat, and that's something that this new Landscribe should be capable of.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We'll have to experiment with that. Um, so where is this comet at in its orbit? Is it getting pretty close to the sun? Maybe the front of it is getting hot, and then the ice is breaking off away, and you've got these chunks of comet. Because that's what comets do, right? The closer they get to the sun, they start to melt, they start to break apart, and that's why they form that trail. Um,
Yeah.
it could be tricky to pull this off, but could also be kind of neat if you had like a hot zone of the comet, on one side and a cold zone on the other. That could be really hard for us to pull off, but could you imagine how fun that would be if you had like scorching desert and glowy red terrain on the front side of the comet, and then on the wayward side of the comet you had the ice cold terrain, just a radical transition. Wouldn't that
That
be
would be pretty
fun?
cool. Yeah.
Um, I know that you filled this in with a single land, right? And lands are basically the only way to differentiate between the terrains, and it kind of gives you the base and the building blocks to start off. So how are you going to get a land on one side but not the other? Um, could be tricky. You know, you don't. I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm just spouting off an idea that could add to the theme of your map.
One of the maps on the concept document we have was waning, I believe it's called, and I have that just to be the Earth's moon, and it would be a circle with the crescent slash waning cutout of it. One side would be snow and ice, the other side would be gravel, dirt, what have you, and that's basically a similar thought to what you're thinking here. Um, I don't. It would be pretty tricky to try to do it for this one. That one we would build around that just from the get go.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's something to think about trying to do it here.
I mean,
Maybe replacing one of the putting up a tile of dirt here, elevated, and or it would be a different terrain, but it's something to think about.
if you really wanted to, just from a fast and dirty, crude approach to it, you could take Madlands, right? And you could generate another arc in Madlands. And you could have it intersect your comet at the very top and the very bottom, perhaps where you plan for the player lands to be. And then there'd be a section in the case that I'm seeing right now. To the right of that arc would be your desert land that you'd put in there, and then to the left of that would be ice. And you could have a reasonably abrupt transition. Um, it might not be pretty, might not be clean, but I'm thinking about it, and I think that it's probably possible to do it. Just take some time and effort and thought.
Yeah, that's the other way that you could have this made. Um, since I said I made the arcs of the mangrove shallow and then I just filled this in. So the other way would to just be make the comet out of dirt and then have that just be expanding lands away or terrain.
Hmm.
Um, that's something I could definitely mess with. And then that way I would be able to change a few of those tiles from Madlands, change it to desert, this to gravel, this to ice, something like that, as it's being made.
Does Madlands have the ability to place terrain at a specific elevation, or do you have to elevate it afterward?
Um, it may have an option on there. It's all just an Excel file that the Mad Catter made. But I think when I usually want to elevate something from that I've made, then I just have to copy paste a bunch of base elevation whatever into the
Okay.
script.
Yeah, because I if he left it out, I wouldn't be surprised because if you have the lands down already and you specify a terrain type for those lands, you can just elevate those lands, right? You don't need to put them at a specific elevation. But it can help to be able to specify the base elevation for the lands directly, because if you do have lands that are the same terrain type as each other, or you want the elevation to be biased in a certain way, then then you need to specify a base elevation.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise it will have no elevation it'll have no bias when it's trying to elevate things.
Yeah,
Unless the
correct.
bias is toward the bottom right corner of the map, and then it'll do that. But that's just an error. That's another separate issue. So are you attached to the idea of having that proportion of mangrove to solid land in the Trail of the Comet?
Um,
What drove you to that end? Why did you decide that that was the number you wanted?
like having the thickness of this line compared to just having it smaller.
No, I mean the number of chunks coming off. How did you decide the
Oh,
number of chunks?
just a visual aesthetic. So I had it on tiny map. I created the chunks. I was like, yeah, that looks all right. And then I scaled it to map size with their largeness. I didn't want to have like 100 little pieces out here and it'd just be too much clutter. Um, yeah,
Okay.
just aesthetically, I wouldn't want to see just absolutely crumbling to pieces and just tons of little pieces around here. I'd rather see, for the large size map, I'd rather see something like this. And then, but if you scale by number or something, I forgot what it was, then there would be more as the map gets larger. I just had to scale to size for this one.
Okay, another question. Why does the comet go in two different directions? You said there's a 50% chance that it could go in different directions.
Just to add a little variety.
Would you expect that to change the gameplay at all?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
The only thing it would change is making it more difficult for putting direct player lands.
Just makes it harder to script.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where I'm kind of looking for low-hanging fruit here in terms of how to potentially reduce the size of the file if we added a bunch of stuff to it, and a bunch of features. I don't know how large it will end up being. It would be nice if the comet were to sail in both directions, but if the file size becomes prohibitive, it'd be a good thing to cut the file size in half. So that would be one of the first features that would be on the chopping block.
Correct.
Nice. It's a pretty cool concept. What do you guys think about it in chat? Let BP know what your thoughts are about it. If you have any other ideas for the map, suggestions for how to implement things. I think it looks pretty good for putting it together with Madlands.
I think I found the file or the section with these.
The other advantage about doing it with lands is you don't have to worry about that one in the corner there.
Yeah, I have them stay a certain distance away, but it seems that distance is a little too close, and that one keeps happening.
Sneaks its way in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it likes to do that.
I think it's about, let's see, 16? Yeah. 16 tiles away, so that it's a little too close. That's still within right there.
Okay. Got anything else that you're working on with the space maps that you want to show?
Not that I've much messed with. I think this one, last time I looked at it, this was the first one I made, which was title locked, and it was quite annoying messing with the players, getting them in their specific locations. And I like the way it's turned out. But this was before I knew about actor areas, so that I have to fix that if I want to continue with it, because there are issues with resources not spawning where I have these lands made. See, the trees avoid it, sheep, all these avoid it, and that gets progressively worse with the more players. But I like this idea of the two planets against each other. However, with larger team sizes, it would just be not enough land. And I've watched, after watching the Red Bull Legacy on the different islands, or the island map, and I've watched island maps before, and people complain about it and just eventually running out of space. Well, that would happen even quicker on this, because I have so much of that space not taken up by land. But I didn't want to. I wanted it to look like planets with the circles and then a moon in between them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if we wanted to continue with this, it would have to be just like one full side for each team, so that it would be interesting enough.
Why not? And maybe this is what you mean. Why not just increase the radius of the circle?
I don't want it to get too close to the moon itself and just be like 5 tiles in between. I could make it a smaller arc or a larger arc that would go from one side to the other, and that's something that might be solve the solution. But then you have less depth to it, not having them in the corners. And that way it's just like all the players are in the front. You know, they got a line of trees in the back. There's nothing it'd be less random to the land generation, I think. But I think more land space would be better in general.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's like you said, we messed with Nebula. I haven't really touched it since I sent it to you, but we're going to try to turn that into more just land with probably water that looks more like this snaking around, so ships can still be used, but have a lot more land on here so that it's not just total water dominance. And that one I'm also excited for because I love just the ease of use with nomad maps, but also just how much stuff there is on it that makes it look great.
So Josh saying he thinks it's fine. Some maps are just not made for 4v4 games. Yeah, some concepts just don't work for 4v4.
Yeah, that's something we have
That
to talk
simple.
about with what we want this tournament to be. I'm not sure if we want to do 1v1s or
So in
2s or
a
what.
1v1, they start on the same island though, right?
No, it was two separate.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's kind of like Highland, but without the shallows in that case.
Mhm.
No early aggression.
And you see, as the map gets smaller, it gets a little closer to the moon, which
Hmm.
is kind of hard to do with just the land sizes.
Would you consider connecting them to the moon using connections?
That's possible. I didn't really think about it though, just because if you're thinking it realistically, two planets battling over a moon in between them, there wouldn't be a connection.
That's
Like this,
true.
because it is supposed to be space. We just have water there, obviously, for age.
I'm just trying to think of what would make this more interesting, right?
Mhm.
Right now, this is basically islands, team islands with very little building space,
Yep.
and a moon in the center which they can fight over. So I don't know if I have many ideas for that right now.
Yeah, that's why I kind of put this one on the back burner compared to the other maps that we're working on. So this would
Ooh,
come
Josh,
later.
Josh says they need to have a space elevator to the moon. You know about the space elevator, right, BP? Could argue it's a space elevator.
I
It's an
have read
interesting
some
idea.
sci-fi where they have a bridge to their moon.
Um, the other possibility is making the water walkable, more mangrove shallow, maybe more buildable. I don't
Mhm.
know. Um, it really is all about what you want to do with the map and what you want. As long as what I'm saying is the more options that you have, the more fun people will have playing the map. So
True.
that's all I'm asking you to think about, and you already know to think about. It's just something I'm saying because I have to say it on the show. But I really like what I've seen so far. I think that these new player land placement programs are going to be really helpful for some of these space maps. Just got to finish them up and then
Yep.
either release them or get to work on using them.
It'll definitely be cool to see. We'll get these things rolling. Try to make as many of the ones from the concepts that we can.
You did a Nomad map for the Greek tournament, Nomas. Have you uploaded that to the GitHub repository yet?
No, I think I've made one upload and then I tried to add more to my specific folder and it was just adding them as their own entity in the empty file. So that's something I'm going to need your help with later to try and organize that.
Okay. It's not really related to script chat, but maybe after script chat we could take a
Yeah.
look at that if
Wouldn't
you
have to
want.
be during this. Um, let's see. Yeah, it's this one right here. Yeah.
With the wagons.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, love it.
This was a fun map. All right. Is that
Yep. I think that'll
All I
about do
have.
it. I will do a demonstration for folks on how to do a seasonal map now. And then I think Tenka is in chat. I'll answer perhaps some of his questions if he has any, because he's learning how to random map script. But thank you for joining us, BP.
Absolutely.
Yep, I will chat with you later.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Yep, bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, I'll be right back. Let me refill my water real quick, and then we'll get started on seasonal variation. Josh says you could make space elevator to orbit, and if the moon is close enough, you could just land there without any additional propulsion. Yeah, the concept of space elevators is pretty cool. The idea that you can get to the moon without rockets. Okay, I am back. I'm actually gonna crack open the windows. It's really warm out. It's like in the upper 70s outside right now, which is unusual. Normally it's quite chilly this time of year. But I'm not going to turn down the fresh air. Okay, so what do we got here? Well, I've got seasons.rms that we're going to work on. Okay, and we're going to show you guys how to make a very basic, very simple map that has seasonal variations. Because this is something that folks like to do to spice up a map a little bit, make it slightly more interesting. It's a very simple concept. It's just going to take but a few minutes to show. And then finally, if Tenka is here, we'll answer any questions that he might have. Okay, so we're going to call this all right, seasonal example by Tech Chariot. And you guys know, as always, that we need player setup. We need land generation. We need elevation generation. We need terrain generation. We need objects. Generation. And everything else is kind of optional. Let's give ourselves behavior version 1. Random placement. So let's start ourselves out with a very simple script here. Land generation, the base terrain is going to be grass. And then we are going to actually, the base terrain is going to be base terrain. Okay, and we're going to create player lands. And let's see what some of our options are here for create player lands. Remind myself. I think I want to go to the skeleton syntax. Here we go. So we want terrain type. We want terrain type as PLT. That's the player land terrain. All right, and land percent. So we want it to be 10%. We're not going to do anything with the borders. We are, however, going to specify circle radius 30 and maybe 1. Save that. Now, in the player setup here, we need to come up here and we need to declare some things. So we're going to declare that base terrain is equal to whatever the terrain for grass is, which, let's go look it up right now. And you guys might be wondering why I'm doing this, and I will explain why in a little bit. So we'll come over here and we'll check Zetness's spreadsheet that has all these different terrains in it, and grass is simply 0. Okay. And base layer is going to be equal to base layer. Alright, so base terrain is going to be 0. Base layer is going to be whatever dirt 3 is, which is just 3. And then the player land terrain is going to be equal to yeah, let's set the player lands equal to 3 as well. So we'll just have it be dirt 3 here. Okay, and then we will create some basic elevation, which create elevation 5, let's say. And these player lands are going to be elevation 0, but this elevation 5 is going to be distributed across the whole map. So the base terrain for this is going to be just whatever our base terrain is. I'm going to capitalize it all just to be safe. So base terrain and number of tiles. $40,000 number of clumps, perhaps 60. Set scale by groups and enable balanced. And then let's give ourselves some terrain generation. We're just kind of setting up something very, very basic here, just so you guys can see. Okay. Create terrain. And the terrain that we're going to be creating is going to be woodies, is what we're going to call it. Because I think the Mad Catter uses woodies in his script. So we'll use something that's clearly not some predefined constant already. If we said forest, then the forest comes predefined, so it would interpret that as oak forest trees. So you got to be careful to make sure that you use a unique name here. And our base terrain is going to be base terrain. And we're going to have spacing to other terrain types. And maybe we'll put like 3 here. And then we're going to do land %, maybe 10. Set a void. Actually, we need number of clumps. And that's going to be 50. And then we're going to set a void player start areas. And that's going to be, let's say, 20. And then finally, for object generations, we're going to create object town center. And then we're going to set place for every player, and then find closest. Okay, so just like this, so we've got a very basic map here. Let us define woodies, and then I think we'll be pretty much good to go. So woodies, whatever a standard basic forest is, we'll define woodies as. So forest is where is it? It's probably one of the right here, 10. I'm blind. All right. So it's 10. All right, so let's go in and we'll bring up this map and we'll generate it and we'll see what happens. Seasons. Okay, so here we go. We got our player lands. We haven't specified a base size. Oops, I guess we should probably do that. Maybe so that it's a little bit more square. Base size of like 7. But otherwise, this is pretty much exactly the way that we would expect it, right? We've got a generally summer. The ground around the town center is a little more trampled. Let's give ourselves some boar too, because we need boar. So we'll come down here and we will create another object. Create object, but we're not going to call it boar. We're going to call it retaliatory food. Set place for every player, and then we're going to do min distance to players is 8, and then max distance to players is 12. Now we haven't defined retaliatory food, so let's go do that. So this food retaliates. It will fight back if you harm it. And we're going to need to look up the constants here for that. Retaliatory food. Oh, right. That's something that we made up, so it's not going to be in here. All right, it is number 48. We'll save. And now when we hit generate, each player should get a boar if we did things properly. But we didn't. It's because we need to set Gaia object only. There we go. So there's the boar. Now, seasons. So we got our basic map set up. It took us just a few minutes. If we wanted to go through and we wanted to flesh in all the other details, we could do that. We could flesh that out. We don't need to do that for the purposes of this demonstration. This is a really simple technique, and I will show you. So notice how all of our stuff is generic, right? Anything that could potentially we might want to change depending on the biome, we've given a unique name that is not predefined somewhere. So we got retaliatory food, and base terrain, and woodies, and player land terrain, etc. So here's what we do. We're going to say, oops, we need to base terrain this and base layer this first of all. This should be capitalized. I believe it's case sensitive, but we'll see. I think that will layer in grass 3. Yep. So it wasn't recognizing it before. Now it's a little bit better blended. Okay. So we're going to start random, and we're going to end random here. And then we're going to have percent chance 50 and percent chance another 50. Now, if this happens, something else will be defined. So we will define let's say EU summer, European summer. And then there's also a 50% chance that we're going to define EU winter. Okay, so we want to define a European summer or a European winter. All right, now if we don't define one of these, if these do not add to 100%, then there's a chance it will pick something that is not defined, and therefore nothing will happen or almost nothing will happen. Let me show you. So we're only going to define these constants right here apply to the summer variant of our seasons. So we're going to say if EU summer do all of this, else, and then end if. Okay, so if it's European summer, define these thusly. Otherwise, do nothing. So what happens if we comment these out so that they are not defined at all? Then when we run it, a lot of this stuff is undefined. Sure, it might put a few hills in here, and it knows what town centers are still, regardless. But overall, there's nothing going on. Now, if we only defined European summer there's only a 50% chance of that happening. So when we hit generate, we have nothing happen here. However, there is also a chance that it could properly define things and then our map will be created. So that's why it's important to have something that works for all cases, right? To break down every possible thing that could be spawned. Okay. So let us make sure that we uncomment this now. And we are going to consider now what would happen if it picked EU winter. So the parser is moving along, it sees this start random, and it decides, I'm going to pick this one instead. We need to define what these could be for EU winter. If we just save it now, even though we've applied a case for something to happen if it's winter, when it picks that, nothing happens because we haven't defined anything. So let's make sure that we define some stuff. So we'll copy all of this, and now all we have to do is change the constants. So what do we want our base terrain for winter to be? Well, probably snow, right? So snow is number 32. And we want our base layer to, let's say, be, let's go up here and let's just check. So snow is number 32. We want our base layer to be, let's say, gravel, or maybe ice, because we're layering the ice on top. So what is ice, actually? Ice would be better. Oops. 35. So we'll put that right here. The player land terrain, what should we use for that? Let's use gravel. So gravel is number 70. What are we going to use for the forest? Well, oak is not appropriate. Let's see if we can use snow pine forest instead. Snow forest. So that is number 21. And then the retaliatory food is going to remain unchanged because I can't think of a better predator. Hey, Zavi is here. Welcome. I can't think of a better predator to put in Europe during the winter, or a retaliatory food source. If you guys can think of a cold weather version of the boar, let me know. Okay, so this is a very simple example of how to make it so that there's a 50% chance of a summer biome and 50% chance of winter. So now when we save, we hit generate. And we get summer in this case. But if we hit it again, as you can see, we've generated winter this time. Now, you say, but Tech Chariot, I don't think that it's appropriate to have ice masked over the snow and then to have nothing around the town center in the case of the winter biome. To basically say, I think that you should have gravel mixed with ice in this case. Well, not to worry. We could do that a couple of ways. I would prefer to keep it a little bit more general. So we could come over here to terrain generation and we could say if EU winter was selected, then mask a certain type of terrain over it. So that's kind of the obvious thing. So let's come down here and copy that, and we'll show how that works. So if EU winter, if it's European winter, then create terrain, and the terrain is going to be ice, and it is going to, and we can say that because ice is defined specifically for EU winter, so we don't need some fancy definition. The base terrain is going to be player land terrain, and there's not going to be any space in other terrain types. It'll attempt to mask over by 100%. and we don't need, we have like 9320 clumps. We don't need to set avoid player start areas. However, we will do terrain mask 1. And now, for this same seed number, we'll keep this seed. We hit generate. Now we've got ice masked over our gravel. It's a little bit more believable. We could have masked snow over our gravel as well if we wanted to, or we could even do something that sort of, breaks it up beyond that. Now, if we generate a different random seed, so we go back to our summer biome, you can see that we're not masking ice over this. So if we kept this seed, for instance, and we removed this so that it was not dependent on what option was selected, then we would have ice masked over our player land terrain, and that is not appropriate. We don't want that. However, what we could do instead, if we wanted to keep this a little bit more general, is we could instead of having this conditional here, we could create terrain and we could call it PLM, player land mask. And we could have it so that it happens every single time. And we could come up here and we could define player land mask as well. So for this version of summer, we could have PLM, constant PLM, and we could define that as the same thing. So it just masks the same terrain over it. No harm done, right? But for winter, we could come here and we could say PLM is defined as whatever ice terrain is. So in this case, it's 35, so we can define it as 35. And that would basically work as well. And it'd be a little bit more compact, a little bit cleaner, I think, because it would be only one circumstance where you really care about what the seasons are. So now when we hit generate on this seed, you can see that we just masked the same terrain over itself, so we don't have the ice showing up. But if we generate it randomly again, then we've got this boar. And there's no limit. There's really no limit to how many of these you do. So for example, we could add in another option very easily right here, right now. So we could have a 30, you remember this has to add up to 100, so 34% chance of EU summer, 33% chance of EU winter, and then we could do percent chance 33, and we're going to define Africa. And then we'll come down here and we'll say, otherwise, if Africa. And we could do something for Africa as well. What happens if it doesn't reach 100? It generates blank. Exactly, Xavier. It does not do anything. If it doesn't reach 100, there's a small chance that it could pick that part that is undefined and then generate nothing. So then we'll come down here where we're generating Africa, and we can add this extra stuff in, right? Paste that there, and then give it different definitions. So if you look at it right now, the big difference is we don't have boars in Africa. We have rhinoceroses. So let's come back here. Our base terrain is going to be desert in Africa. So we need to find where desert is. And desert is, just so I don't waste time looking for it, desert right here. So it's number 14. So we'll define the base terrain as number 14. And if we don't want to mask over it, we could just say define it as itself. It's the same thing. The player land terrain we're going to define as dirt in this case. So dirt is 6, I believe. Yep, there it is. So there's dirt. So player land terrain is 6. Player land mask is, let's say that it's desert again. And then the wood situation, I believe the Palm Desert is number 13 here, so we'll put a 13 in. And our retaliatory food, we need to look at our spreadsheet for objects this time, and we want the rhinoceros. Oops. So we want to find rhino. And that is 1139. So we're going to put in the number 1139 in here. This food retaliates. It fights back. Okay, so now we have an Africa configuration as an example. A little bit more classic Arabia, right? And obviously, you could do more than this. You could have the deer. You could have them be ostriches instead. You could have all kinds of good stuff, right? It all is just based in whatever biome you picked in your random statement. So note that EU summer has a slightly higher chance of getting picked because it's 34% versus 33, but we can't do any better than this because these numbers have to be whole numbers. They can't be decimals. So we can never get them all to have exactly the same chance of being generated. So now let's do a couple more generations. We got EU winter again, generated again. All right, here we are with the desert terrain. You can see that we've got dirt, we've got desert. Our dirt is blended with the desert on the player lands here. We've got the rhino, and we've got Palm Desert. So that's how you can give your map seasons. Since Xavier Tenka is here, we're gonna do one more biome, and that is going to be the rainforest biome. Although maybe he lives in the desert portion of Peru, I'm not sure. But Peru has jungles and deserts and mountains. It's got everything. So we need to make sure that we do everything here. So let's put 25, 25, and 25. And we're going to add a fourth biome, and we're going to call it percent chance 25, and we're going to define, remember, we can't use jungle because jungle is a predefined term. What I meant was with a map was to have oak trees or spring ones with the same map generation, just adding them as possibilities. Exactly. So if you want EU fall, you could do EU fall too. Like for instance, EU summer and winter have the same boar. So the retaliatory food has the same number here. But for each option, you have to go in and add the breakdown of all the different things that could potentially change. So we're going to define tropical. And then we're going to copy this over. We're going to do one more. We're going to say else if tropical. We're going to paste that. Our base terrain is going to be, nope, there is no or option, unfortunately. There is no or and statements in random map scripting. The best you can do is have an if statement inside of an if statement, but that can get pretty confusing. So for the case of a tropical map, let us choose, let's say, leaves. Let's see, there should be lush grass, I think, grass 2. Here we go. Very green grass. So our base terrain is going to be 12. And we're going to layer some jungle grass on top of it. Where's the jungle grass? There we go. It's number 60, DLC jungle grass. I'm pretty sure there is something like that. Let me see. Please correct me. Hey, if you can find it, I would love to learn. I am skeptical that you will find it, though. So the player land terrain, let's make that DLC jungle leaves. Or actually, nah. Let's make it Let's make that grass too. So we'll make that grass. Actually, we could make that dirt, I think. I want a dirt here. Really, I mean, there's no right answer here. It's just whatever you want in your little world, whatever makes you happy. Yeah, let's just do dirt 2 because we haven't used dirt 2 yet. Do 11. Player land mask though, we're going to use DLC Jungle Road. Oops. Okay, sent me something via Discord. Let's open it up and see what he's got. Where is my Jungle Road? Let's add that in. Here we go. It's 61. So that's going to be masked over our player land. And then, of course, we got to have Jungle Forest for our wood. So wherever jungle is, we'll put that in. We can use DLC Rainforest. That's fine. 56. And the retaliatory food, we don't want a rhinoceros. We want the javelina. Here we go. That is 822. So now we'll generate it a few times, and we actually only had to generate it once, and already you can see that we've got ourselves the jungle biome in this case. All right, let's see what Tenka sent. All right, so where's the OR statement that you're talking about? Where can you download the XLS? It is in the Random App Scripting server. I will tag you after the stream, and I will show you where you can find those as reference. Oh, looks like people are already talking about it on November 6th. AoE2 terrains and the definitive constants list. So see above, around flowers there is, where? This right here. Down. Let's look at OR. And then we're going to match case. Whole world. Right here? This isn't doing anything right here. This is or should be a comment. So whenever you have a slash and this asterisk, it's the start of a comment. And whenever you have an asterisk and then a slash, it's the end of a comment. So I don't know where this script came from or what this is doing here. But I can assure you that this OR is not doing anything at all. This is all, I think, theoretically supposed to be inside of a comment. So what you would have to do here is you would have to create object and you would have to define flower choice or something, and then use a random statement at the beginning to say what type of flower was being generated. Yeah. A lot of folks just find scripts that start from somewhere else, and it's a great way to learn to review scripts that other people have made, or to review scripts other people have made to learn about them. It generated both of the big one. Well, remember that when you have flowers, so let's go back to our script here. You have to be careful because we could go over here to units, right, to Gaia, and we could have flowers, other, flowers. I should probably look in alphabetical order, right? Flowers 1, flowers 2, flowers 3, flowers 4. Maybe that looks fine, but if we had other units like column, statue column, where is it? Just a classic example that I give is statue column. So here's an example of statue column, and every time I place it, right, it looks different because this object has different skins associated with it. So in this case, it doesn't even generate a statue column. It generates some stupid totem pole thing. So maybe what you're seeing is you're seeing the generation of multiple different types of flowers all at the same time, or maybe you're seeing multiple skins. I'm not really sure. So let me get rid of this. Actually, maybe I'll just save this to the file, and we'll just do some tweaks with it. Flower 1, flower 2, flower 3, and flower 4. I don't know what this slash is here. Hopefully it doesn't confuse it too much. Yes. All right, let me save this. So I will save this in, oops, right here. So now we have to duck out and then go back in. Okay, so liquid trap. Just going to generate it on some tiny size here. All right, so where are the flowers that we're talking about? These flowers here. So I think these are the flowers that we're talking about. And holy fish traps, there are a lot of fish traps here. So I'm going to come into this script just to make sure that I know what's going on. And I'm going to get rid of this thing, because that should not be there. It will ignore it. And let me find every instance of flower. So create object flower 1, and we want to have different options for the flowers, right? Or flower 3 or flower 4. So let me get rid of all that. And we'll just have it be flower 1. I think that there is more than one case. Flower 3, flower 4, flower 3, flower 2, flower 1. So only flower 1 is being generated here. So we'll save it, and only flower 1 has 2 occurrences according to this. So flower 2 has only 1, flower 3 has only 1, and flower 4. So therefore, the only flowers that are being generated when I hit generate are flower 1s. So let's generate it.
Yay. Mandatum. Yay.
Something like that, yes. So these are all flower 1s here, Tenka. If we wanted to generate a different type of flower, then we could just put flower 2 here, and we'll save it. Now note how all of these flowers are like long, and they look just like Gaia other flower 1, and let's compare. It looks like it could be a couple flower 1s next to each other. They have the same sort of angle of orientation, if you will. So it looks like it is indeed putting flower 1s here. Flower 2 looks like this more circular patch. So now if we have this change to flower 2 and we save it, then we hit generate, and we get more circular patches of flowers here.
Ready. Mandatum.
So come down here and we select flower 2. You can see that the patches that we would place are essentially identical to what's here already. If we wanted to introduce the chance of having different flowers, then what we do is we rename that to flower. We rename this to flower choice. Flower choice. Right here. And then we go back up to the beginning, and we could start random, end random, and we could have flower choice. We could have different options for how we define flower choice. So start random, percent chance, percent chance, percent chance, percent chance. And then because we have 4 of these, we need to make each one worth 25%. And I think actually we could, because this is simple enough, we could actually come in here and we could inject the definition directly in here. We don't have to define different conditions. Now, it might be hard to detect the differences in these flower choices. So we could make them different objects entirely. Like we could make them 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I don't even know what objects 1, 2, 3, and 4 are. So we could make it a movable map revealer, a legionary dead, or an archer. These are our 4 options here. So now when we hit generate, we got the legionaries. In this case, there were already some archers. We hit generate again, and we got the dead legionaries you can see here. We generate it again, and we get these militia units instead, I guess. I don't really know. Actually, no, they're legionaries, it looks like. They're outlaws, exactly, but they look like archers, which makes it confusing. So anyway, that's the idea. That's the core behind it. The OR statement is not recognized in random map scripting. So the 2 links that Bazadrone shared in the RMS server are where you can find this terrain spreadsheet and this spreadsheet of different objects that you see that you can choose from. So hopefully that helps you out. I can send these scripts back to you if you want. Just let me know. Holy fish traps. Okay. Yeah, no problem. We can do that 100%. Do you have any other questions? Anything else I can help you out with today? Ah, the XT Mega Random thing. All right, let's take a look at it. So how can I help you with this one? What do you want to know how to do on this one? I showed you guys how to do the seasons earlier, but maybe you have additional questions on this one. Sizu, hello and welcome. It only generates palm trees, jungle, and stuff. Ah, I see. So let me hit generate a few more times. Well, what are you talking about? I got oak forest here, Tenka. And I did not modify this file. Is this what you mean? When does it only generate palm trees? Well, here it is. So on this mega random that you sent me, it's generating oak trees. I mean oak like red and brown one stuff. So what you're saying is you don't want any brown oak trees at all? You just want the green oak trees? Yeah, this is Savior Tank is learning how to map script Sizu, and this is what he started with Mega Random. I did invite you into the chat, Tenka. Yeah, sure, one sec. Go ahead and join the assembly hall, and I'll drag you into the voice channel. I'll also share my screen, too, so you can help me understand what's going on. Yeah, no worries. All right, I'm in TV voice. Go ahead and join the assembly hall when you're ready, and I'll drag you in. Oh, we got another one here, Solid Lake. We can look at this one too. So go ahead and click on the assembly hall to join, and then I'll drag you into TV voice. This is to make sure that people's grandmas don't intrude on streams accidentally. Oh, my grandson is on a voice channel. I think I'm going to join. Because we have had something similar to that happen before. Not grandmas, but we have had people do that accidentally. It's kind of embarrassing. All right, let me back out and we'll bring up the new script that you sent me. No. It's in the Viridarks community. The assembly hall that's in the Viridarks community. That's our clans and our groups server. Okay. Solid Lake. I'll ping you in it. Help you find the right server. Okay, so these trees look appropriate. This lake is solid. These trees also look appropriate. Everyone gets a Fatoria. I like that. Tipe would like that. All right, Tenka, hello and welcome. You are on ScriptChat. Can you hear me?
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you for letting me join.
Oh yeah, no problem. Happy to have you. That's what this show the show is all about. People can show and tell, they can show off their work and tell us about it, or they can come and ask questions.
Where can I see your screen?
So I am actually sharing my screen through Discord as well. There's a little bit of lag between the conversation that we're having now and YouTube, right? It'll upload to YouTube in like 30 seconds. So it's actually easier for you to see my screen through Discord, and that'll help you keep up with the conversation. And then it'll just get recorded to YouTube, and they'll enjoy it 30 seconds later, whatever the lag is.
It's fine. I cannot. Okay, let me see if I can. Okay, there we go. I found you. Okay, I can see you.
Perfect.
Good. So what I wanted to show you with this solid lake. Well, first of all, thank you. And all the maps that I made were for free for all because I love free for all. So it's fine. Anyways, if you, what I wanted to say, if you generate this map more times, you will see what I mean with the red trees and the oak trees and stuff.
Okay, let me do a few more generations. I only have it on 2-player for now. Do I need to put it on a larger size to create that odd generation?
Yeah, I used I don't remember what I used as base for this.
Okay, the trees look fine still. Do you have a seed number I can type in that gives a weird...
No, I do not.
This one right here?
No, not that one.
It's got pine trees, but it's also got oak trees. That's okay?
No, it's not that one.
Okay.
Also, what about the new... there are new commands, like hashtag something. I saw that the new maps have. Why is it not generating the thing? God damn it.
No, it's just, that's called presenter syndrome.
There we go. There is one.
This one?
There is one. This is one of the things, for example.
Okay.
These are different trees. You see?
Yep.
I mean, they are just the skin.
You don't like these trees?
There is another one. Let's keep generating.
Okay, so this one's okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. What I wanted to do, basically, let me close my door. I'm sorry. Okay, what I wanted to generate with my other map, my mega random map, is for it to generate trees that are like these as well, and probably shallows that can generate shallows, obviously. But I would like to have the possibility of generating mangrove shallows as well.
Okay.
So probably trees on it and stuff.
So you want these white trees, these birch trees, to generate on top of shallows?
No. Let me try to explain it again. When you generate my other map, the mega random one, it only generates the classic trees. It will never generate these trees that you were seeing. It will generate palm trees. It will generate the woodies. No, the other trees. You know which one is.
Yeah, the mangrove trees.
But it will never generate the white ones. It will generate shallows, for example, but it will never generate the mangrove shallows because I don't know where to put them or where to put that constant or percentage.
Okay.
It will not generate anything that is beyond forgotten.
Okay. All right. So let's bring up
That's
the script
basically.
then.
So I would like to have the same generation, but also I would like to have the possibilities of using those of having those skins. I don't know if you can understand me.
Yes. So let's take a look at your mega random here.
Thank you.
Oh boy. This is something of a monstrosity. I think what we want is the tile set for mega random. Grass, tropical, snow, and then let's see. This all adds to base terrain. I'm wondering if there's a point where it generates forest. Probably not. Select
I'm
other
sorry.
lands. Select water in the forest. And then to find where it is. Land 4. Oh man. All right. Let's try to find the terrain section. So that's the problem with Mega Random is there's just so much stuff. Hard to keep up with all of it. Okay.
That's why I thought with the OR command that I thought worked, I tried to add those and it never worked. And obviously now I know why.
So I have to try to find where it's putting the forest in. That's the first step. I see a forest map, but I'm having a hard time determining where the forest is. Let me try searching for forest here.
Yeah,
We're
that
not
would
going to
be easier.
match. See, like it finds 272 forest in here.
Well, your maps are heavier.
Here we go. No. Well, my maps are heavier, but they're generated by a computer. Somebody painstakingly went through, probably, I would guess, and wrote this in. All right. So
Yeah,
I think we found
a
it.
noob like me modified it, so it's
So
even harder.
if grass tile, create forest terrain. If tropical tile, create jungle. If snow tile. So instead of create terrain forest, let me see if I can kind of give you an example. We're going to create terrain forest choice. And we're going to have that be right here. And this is probably going to screw it up royally, but it'll be a start. So let's see where else forest is specifically. And this time we want to match exactly. Primary forest, create terrain forest. So we're going to find every instance of forest that we can, and we're going to replace it with forest choice. Josh says there are trees from the newest DLC. These are trees from the newest DLC. So we're going to find every instance of forest and replace it with forest choice. Now we're going to go up, and these are going to be whatever forest you want.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think that in the Discord I can only see the game, so I'm watching the YouTube thing. I don't think that that's intended now.
All right, hold on. Yeah, one sec. You're right. Let me stop streaming through Discord, and then I will share my screen instead. Screens, screen 1. Okay, so basically all that I did was I replaced every instance of forest with forest choice. And now we're going to come up here and we're going to introduce that. Select forest terrain. And we're going to kind of try to keep it in this format. So we'll start random and end random. And how many different forests do you want? You want the regular forest, the birch forest,
All of them.
percent chance. Well, I'm gonna do these 3. And you can do the rest once we know that you know how this works. And we'll make sure that this works. Percent chance 33, because expanding the number of options is not conceptually difficult to. Okay. So 34, 33, 33. So we got the 3 options here. Percent chance. We're going to define forest choice. and then we're going to define forest choice. And then we're going to define forest choice. So we're basically going to define it 3 different ways. And then, all right, this should work. So we'll go back to where the terrains are defined now. And regular forest was what, 10 we said? So the first option is going to be 10. The second option is going to be the mangrove forest. So we're going to look for mangrove. DLC mangrove forest is 55. So we'll put 55 in here. And then finally we're going to put the birch forest in. So that's somewhere down here. And that's 110. Okay, so now hopefully when we generate this Save Your Tank and Mega Random for the deciduous, the more temperate forests, where it's generating forest choice, it's got the choice of oak, mangrove, or birch. Okay, so this is the cold version, so therefore we're not going to see those choices. So here's a temperate version, and looks like it did not work. It's just got dirt down here instead.
Yeah, I
Could
tried
we
something
accidentally
like that too, and it stopped generating trees. Oh,
Well, this is jungle, so more jungle. Josh says he thinks I broke it. I think so too. So let's hold on to this seed here. So let's find forest choice. So if grass tile, create terrain forest choice. Yeah, I don't know, man. I would start with something way simpler. Because somebody spent hours like programming in all these different options.
the
And
thing is that
I have
I
no
have
idea what's going on.
never found any map that is like this because it generates stupidly unfair maps. For example, whenever we play free for all, I have had moments in which one player is on an island alone, or sometimes somebody is in a forest nothing situation, and everybody's outside, or everybody's in an island and somebody has a bigger island, stuff like that. This is what I like about this map. It's completely
fair.
random. It's not like mega random fair. This is totally random. It generates a map and then puts the people on it.
So we got forest choice appearing. I think you should have redefined forest. I can't redefine forest because it is... Yeah, exactly, John. You can't do that. All I did... there's something that... Well, that's dirt terrain, so let's see if we can find the dirt. Where it could potentially be... These are more lands. All right. So if it's a grass tile, create terrain forest choice. Primary forest.
I think I was muted when I said the thing about the unfairness, or was I not?
No, we heard that.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Um, eh. I agree. The thing, when you've got a big monstrosity like this, not knowing what's going on, easier just to rewrite the entire thing. Sounds like a lot of work, but it's actually easier. Create terrain forest choice. Unless
Then
it's
how can
like,
you
hold on,
do
let's,
something like that? Because usually the maps are generated in a really fair way. But as I said before, this just makes the map, first makes the map whatever it is, and then puts the players in. If you do a free-for-all, if you generate an 8-player map, you will see that in a free-for-all situation.
no, I hear you, but the thing is that it's like, you know, opening this up like a doctor going to operate on a patient, Tenka. And like the doctor opens the guy up and nothing is where it's supposed to be. That's how I feel right now. It's like the guy that they brought in was actually an alien or something in disguise. So that's why I'm having a hard time here breaking this down. You could ask on the RMS server if anybody knows who wrote the current version of Mega Random, and if it can be updated to have all the different types of trees in it, the newer trees as well.
Yeah, I checked the mega randoms, and they are RMS2, and they have other constants that I've never seen. They are like they have a pound sign and then stuff. I don't know if you've seen that.
No.
For example, open my Solid Lake map. You will see those. No, not there. Open any map that the normal map like Arena. I don't know, and it would show you.
Oh, this include here? This include is pretty confusing. I wonder if this
Yeah,
Mega
I
Random
added
has
that too.
include in it.
Okay.
No, it does not.
Well, I can send you a map that has those things for you to understand
So
that better.
all we did was basically redefine from forest. We defined forest to forest choice manually. And that should not... Wait a second. If grass tile, the base terrain is forest choice. This is in the land generation. Could this be... Oh, no. This is basically just saying if it chooses a forest map randomly, the base terrain is going to be our choice of forest. It's the next one here. No, I agree. Generating seasonal variants with default constants is not a good idea. I'm not sure why it was set up that way.
Probably the reason why it was set up like that way is because this is the early version of Mega Random. This is one of the first Mega Randoms ever.
I'm glad that
if not the first.
that Ja is here. Hey Ja, is the park compatible with FFA? Is it like fair and stuff for FFA? Does it work in free for all
This map?
diplomacy type situations? No. Ja made a map called The Park. So I'm asking him if his map, The Park,
I think I have it.
Is compatible with free-for-all situations. It's a good map. We played it before. I hope he'll upload it to the GitHub repository at some point. He says, yes, I think so.
And I think I do, I may have used it for free-for-all.
What I'm saying, though, is that the creator of that map is in the chat, and like the park is well known for its seasonal variations. And
Okay, okay.
I'm assuming that you did not use the default constants when you generated your seasonal variance. Is that correct? Did you use default constants when you did your seasonal variance? Ja's very he's a Czech scripter, very clever, friend of mine, and he's a loyal viewer. Yeah, so Ja would do it right. I'd know and trust Ja to do it right. So what I would
Yeah, I know
encourage
Jack.
then.
He's good. I have some of his maps. He sent me some, and
Mhm.
we played them
So
in free for all.
what I would encourage you, Tanka, and I'm sorry to do this, but I would take this mega random script and throw this monstrosity aside and work based off of JavaScript. If you want something to start off of and kind of like tweak things and change things, I would start with the park, because the park is going to have seasonal variation done correctly, and you should very easily be able to bake in additional trees, and you could bake. I don't think he has a version that has like mangrove shallows in it or anything like that. But you could probably pretty easily add that to the park. It's not going to have as much variety as Mega Random has, but I'm an experienced scripter, Ja's an experienced scripter, and we're both scratching our heads at this. You know, there's just so much stuff here. We don't know what to do. We don't know where to start. This is one of those maps that can only be modified or affected or changed by the person that created it. So I don't think I have a version of the park yet. I would encourage you, Tenka, I would invite you to become a collaborator on our GitHub repository, so that if you have a question, I can literally go in and work on your map directly if you want me to. You can configure it so that I can just make the changes immediately. We don't have to DM each other scripts. Everybody can see it, can save the revision. But the biggest advantage about it is that you can configure which scripts appear in your menu in-game. Ja thinks he could modify this mega random if he had the script. I mean, I don't know. Tanka could try sending you this. See if you can figure it out. If you guys do, let me know. What is RMS2 and how is it different from RMS? I don't know. I might be able to modify this too, but I just look at it and I'm like getting lost trying to figure out where everything is. I'm not going to save this one. So I'm sorry I can't help you with the seasonal variation on your mega random script. It's just too big and complicated. It's going to take me too long to figure out how it works on TV. Are there any other questions that I could answer though, Tenka? Anything different that I could help you with?
No, it's fine. I just wanted to know that, and also what was the difference between RMS and RMS2. I have no idea.
Not sure. Sometimes the guys in the random scripting server would be more likely to know the answer to that. Might have to wait a little bit longer to get a response. But if it's something simple, they would respond pretty quickly.
Oh, there is another map that is a mega random, but I would like it to have the same thing. But I don't know if it's easier. I just modified it for it to be a for it to have the race and stuff because it didn't generate a king. What is this one? It's
this
a
is
favorite map of many people.
This is still the mega random map. It's got the dirt down here. There's probably something later on, maybe that's changing forest choice back to dirt, but I can't seem to find it. Is there anything different though that we can help you with apart from the seasonal variation?
Oh yeah, I just sent you a map that it's a different mega random.
Okay, hold on one sec.
But with the same idea, you know, the seasonal things. I sent you two.
Okay.
One is the RMS2. One is the
Bakuretsu.
RMS2, which is I don't know what it means, and the other one is the Bakuretsu, which is the one that I would like to have also with the seasonal stuff.
So it's this Bakuretsu mega random?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at this. Okay. Okay, I see lots of little ponds, and I see
Uh,
3 villagers.
Before this, also this map generates nomad, but doesn't give you enough resources to the for the TC. I have a question. If you know about scenarios, do you know how to make a unit come back to life with the stats it had, or it's
Yes.
not possible?
Yes, it's
Yes.
possible in random map scripting.
Oh
What
no
do
no
you
no
what
no
do
no no
you
no no.
what do you want to do?
Scenario. For example, I want to create a scenario in which a unit dies and then I want it to come back with the same stats it had when it died
How many times?
all the times.
All the time?
Well,
Um,
we can do that later, I guess.
no, 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 no,
First,
no, no,
this
that's
first.
fine. So basically, that's a pretty advanced concept. What you have to do is you have to set the dead object of that unit, the dead object ID, equal to itself. And it will come back to life as itself. So that would effectively make the object unkillable, though. You know that, right?
Yeah, but
Okay. Um,
okay.
yeah. So in order to test that, though, you have to do it in the scenario editor. So what does that have to do with this map, though, that I just downloaded?
Oh no, nothing. It was a different question. What I wanted on this map though is first of all, I would like it to have a nomad resource. When it starts as nomad, I would like it to be to have the resources to make a town center. And second, the seasonal stuff.
Okay. Well, let's see what we can do with the first question. So we will... Did you make this map, Bakuretsu Mega Random?
No, I did
Let's
not. I
see.
just added stuff for so that it worked with different modes.
Okay. So let's find what is determining whether or not the town center is placed. So we'll find town center. Min distance to players, max distance to players, 0. So if capital, create town center. If city, create town center. If town, create town center. If village, create town center. So right off the bat, this is telling me that the reason the town center doesn't spawn is because it's failing to spawn. It looks like there's instructions to create this town center no matter what. But sometimes the town center is unable to spawn based on the terrains and other things that are blocking it, that are in the way, although it's the first object to be generated, so it's based on the hills and terrains.
So what
So,
you're saying is that is not a forced nomad start, it's just that it failed?
yes.
Oh my god.
Because look, min distance to players and max distance to players is 0, and it's trying to generate the town center every single time. So let's modify this to test it. So let's, hold on. So let's come back here, and let's try to get a generation of this that fails to generate the town center. However, if that were the case, then it should fail for one player, but maybe not necessarily another. So we'll test it. We'll
No, it
find
fails for everybody.
which the chances of that are very, very slim, that it would fail for everybody
Well,
equally.
when it has a nomad start, like quote nomad now, it's for everybody. It's not only for one.
Okay, so here's an example of a nomad start with just 3 villagers. And so we'll keep this seed. So the town center appears in 4 places. Set place for every player. Maybe it's competent enough to know that if it's going to fail for one person, that it should fail for everyone. I'm looking at the map here, and it looks like it's kind of reasonable that there should be space and ability to put a town center here. I'm not sure why it's not able to put a town center here. group placement radius 18. So let's try something additional. Let's do second object, town center. And let's put the town center down as a second object. This will allow us to bypass terrain restrictions.
But what if instead of a second object town center, you add a unpacked town center?
It's buggy. You don't want to use that.
Oh, okay, okay.
We do have a way of unpacking trade carts, though. It has some percent for Nomad Start, but forgets to add Nomad resources. Well, I'm looking at this right here, and like these represent every single possibility, right, Ja? If, else if, else if, else if, and. Actually, you know what? You're right. You're right. You're right as usual. So there is probably another conditional that's defined somewhere. Let's take a look and see if there's Nomad. Let's look at where it's defining city previously. Okay, here we go. So there we go. So percent chance, 30% chance that it's going to be Nomad. So these are the 4 options. And then for the last option, it doesn't do anything with the town center. So good call, Ja. So if that is the case, then we'll not only define Nomad, but we'll add Nomad resources.
I saw that there is a constant that is called nomadic something. I don't know if you know about it.
Nomadic something?
Let me find it.
Okay. So now you will have Nomad resources if it's a Nomad start.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was simple. Good call, Ja.
And the seasonal stuff now.
Seasonal stuff on this one? All right.
Like it generates everything up to Rajas. But for example, it will not generate an Ibex.
I wonder who made this map originally.
It's in the top. I think it's in the top.
See.
The person who made it.
Curious. Maybe it was Bakuretsu, whoever that is. No, the original RMS creator is Asuki. Okay. So what you would need to do is you'd need to expand on this start random to end random here, and then define additional percent chances. And then it's basically saying, depending on whether or not snow map, let's see how many places snow map appears. Okay, define livestock type B, livestock type A, and then where are PT for snow? Base terrain for snow. I don't know. I think these guys way overcomplicate. But snow map appears in 41 places, so the chances of me being able to go through and find every single instance and replace. I don't even know what hell map means. What Savannah Savannah map I could guess. Let's see if we can do a few more generations. What is hell map? Don't know. Maybe hell map is an option that's never used. Let's look it up. It's used in 33 places. Thing is it's got to have. It has a 25% chance of being spawned, apparently. Maybe its constants are the same. It's probably the bamboo map. Why would you say that? Just basically process of elimination. What's AOR then? The Age of Rajas, maybe? Dark Grass? Originally called Tropical. Oops. Equals Grass 2. So Snow, Bamboo, Savannah, Age of Rajas. Could hell just be standard like this? Bamboo? Any other versions? I see regular grass and snow. This must be Africa. I could try to add another version. Just looking and see what they've got here. All right, well, I guess we'll give it a try. We'll give it a try for Tenka. So the first thing that we need to do is we're going to reduce these to 20% chances. So we're going to have percent chance 20, and we're going to define light map. Oh, we'll give it a try, Tenka. We'll sort of demonstrate it here on stream. So we need to define a livestock type for the light map. So we're going to have else if light map define livestock type A. It's going to be the same as bamboo. Okay, next one is with regard to water, so we'll ignore that. Shallows, we can ignore that. Clumps of water, we can ignore that. Clumping factor for water, which we can also ignore. Fukai water, we can ignore. High water, medium water, low water, we can ignore all of that. Little water, no water. High clumps forest, standard clumps forest, low clumps forest. Random clumping factor for forest. Okay, so that's all still fine. The water, this is the gold situation. Scanning through it. Stone situation. Berry situation. Start situation. Villager situation. Don't need that. All right, so here we go. This is where we need to start thinking about it again. So grass map, snow map, hell map, desert map. I'm not sure where that's defined. We've got additional options here, I guess. So we're going to go else if light map. And we need to define a base terrain for this. So we're going to use the same base terrain as the hell map, because this is already defined. We could change it though. Oops. Base terrain. All right. Player lands. Again, we're going to add else if light map terrain type, and we're going to use BT for hell for the light map. And apparently we're going to do that again. So we'll paste that down here. Again. So we're going to need to put that again down here. I don't even know why we have so many of these create player lands. It seems like it would be very duplicate-y. But we'll try to follow the pattern of the map, even though I don't understand why. Quite the amount of Japanese on it. I wish we could talk to Asuki. I've never heard of him. Why do I keep doing this? There's so many of these create player lands here. How does it? I don't know. I don't know. Alright, if no water, otherwise create the water. If AOR map. Yeah, I keep doing it for quality content, that's right. Create terrain, medium water. Alright. Create terrain bamboo. Here we go. So, we're going to else if light map, and we're going to create terrain. And instead of bamboo, we're going to have birch forest, which was the whole reason we did this, was just to add this forest. Okay, and then let's if light map. We want to put light here. Okay, nothing else related to the different types of biomes that are picked. Else if hell map, here we go. It does nothing, which is interesting. So I guess we'll do nothing as well. So we'll copy this and we'll basically mirror the hell map, and we're going to call it light map. I don't know. I don't know why he calls it what he calls it. Okay, that's related to object generation. All right, we want else if these are the straggler trees. Else if light map. Create object, and we're going to want to put in birch tree instead. So it's just going to be birch tree. That's what I thought. Doesn't look like anything else that's biome dependent. Wait, the livestock. So on the hell map, he's got llama. We're doing the light map. So we're going to have a light colored animal, which is just going to be sheep. Oh. If savanna map, otherwise, all right, it's going to create deer. That's fine. We like deer. Otherwise, make bore. Yeah, it's just got all these redundant, like it repeats all of this code about tropical versus savanna versus AOR. What I'm saying is give it like bore choice and then just define it once at the beginning. But instead it's all repeated here. So it takes up way more space than it has to. Also, if little water will correct that. Hell map, it's going to be the lion. So we want light map. Else if light map. And we're going to have wolf. Okay. We're going to do this with light map as well. The light map uses the same base train as the hell map. Copy that. Oh, all right, thank goodness. We finally reached the end. So, just 3,000 lines later. I think it was way more than it needed to be. Let's try to generate it and see that we didn't break it. So, pine trees, jungle, jungle. More pine trees. All right, there you go. We added the birch biomes. So that's all it takes to add a single option for the biomes. So I will send this back to you. But like I said, the way that I showed earlier in this video, where you basically just define directly in the beginning the constant numbers for everything, you just give them all arbitrary names like boar choice or deer choice or sheep choice or something. And you define that all in advance, and you basically go through and you say, okay, for this biome, this is the list of what I want everything to look like, and then reference that, and then set up the script in the same way for everything. I think that's way, way simpler. What is the name for the autumn oak trees and stuff? I'll add them. That would be DLC Autumn Forest, I believe. That is... down here. Yeah, DLC Autumn Forest. Forest Autumn, and then Forest Snow Autumn. And then there's Forest Dead. So there really is quite a lot of nice stuff. But I would not, Tenka, I would not do it. I would not go in and modify this. I would focus on making your own stuff, because there are better ways to do it, I think, the seasonal variation than it was done here. So I will send these back to you. We're we went way later than I thought we would go. But I hope you guys still enjoyed and found the presentation helpful. Sorry I didn't have all of the answers. Oh, no, this one is Birch Forest. He was asking about the Autumn Forest, though. Didn't have all the answers, but we had most of the answers, I think. between Ja and I. So, Tenka, I will send you a link to the GitHub repository. I'll send both of you links to the GitHub repository. I would love to work with you guys on it. Could coordinate on random map scripts to make it easier for us. And I might be able to go in and do some land generations for you, Tenka, so you could have some pretty cool looking stuff, similar to the lands that I've generated for Tech Chariot maps that you've played. So this has been a workhorse episode of ScriptChat. What program do you use to create your maps and how do you make them symmetrical? I have a function library that I wrote in GNU Octave, which compiles the script externally and then writes it to the script file. And then the script file has instructions to choose one of the options at random from that data that's stored in it, because it's too stupid to make up complex shapes like that on its own. The data has to be figured out in advance, written in advance, and saved in the text file. And then and only then can it go and look up and pick one of the options and generate it. So it has the appearance of being random, but it's only random within a certain set. So, but this has been you guys have really made me work on this one. This wasn't just show and tell. We started out looking at BP's comment, and we went and we did some stuff with seasonal variations, and we found that some different people can do it in different ways, and depending on how you do it, it can essentially change how readable it is for other people to modify. So hopefully you got something out of it. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and I look forward to working with you in the future.